It's Thursday, January 17th, 2019, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On Barnstable Today, highlights of Town Council's meeting this evening and making sense of letter jumbles on your tax bill. First up, municipal and community news and notes. At last week's Town Council meeting, DPW Director Dan Santos presented an update on wastewater management efforts in Barnstable. You can find the entire presentation on the town's website, www.townofbarnstable.us, on the front page under News. Town Council Vice President John Flores joins us in studio to highlight some of the agenda items for tonight's meeting. New leadership, new year. Here with me today, John Flores, who is Vice President of Town Council. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Paula. Wonderful to be here. I look forward to having our chat about what's coming up for the Town Council meeting this evening.
Excellent. So there's a jam-packed agenda, as there always is.
Yes.
I think I saw one that was very small, and that was right around Christmas. But now that it's a new year, there's budgets, there's all sorts of grants coming in, there's a new short-term rental tax. So where do we want to start today?
I think probably one of the most important presentations that we will be hearing tonight will be focusing on the short-term rental tax. As you probably know, and the audience probably has read in the papers, the state has passed an Airbnb tax, is how it's commonly referred to, for the state of Massachusetts. And what it basically means is that the town as a whole can now begin to charge through this state tax a 6% rental income tax that will eventually come back to us for community expenditures, coupled with monies that will be going to the state, which is 5.7%, I believe. And then part of also this new state law is a Cape-wide stabilization water fund, which will help us mitigate a lot of the water-related issues that we have here in Cape Cod in the islands, and that will be 2.75%. So coupled together, you're looking at about a 14 to 16% tax that those folks that rent for more than 14 days, 30 consecutive days, is how the state is looking at it, will have to register with the Department of Revenue as landlords, so to speak. And there'll be a process by which the taxes will be collected and then in turn reimbursed back to the cities and towns across the Cape. So it's going to be an interesting presentation. Ruth Weil, our town attorney, will be speaking to it from a legal perspective. Mark Milne, our Director of Finance, will be speaking to it from the financial perspective. And also Ryan Castle, who is the CEO of the Cape and Islands Association of Realtors, will be speaking to it from, I guess, probably not only a positive impact, but also a negative impact, because people will now have the option of saying, look, why do I want to come to Cape Cod for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks and have to pay an additional 15% where perhaps I might be able to go someplace else? So, I mean, there were those folks for it, there were those folks against it. It is now state law, so, I mean, that argument is behind us. So now it's how do we basically implement it so that it's in everyone's best interest. And probably one of the most critical issues, as I've mentioned, is the fact that we have this water stabilization fund, which will help us, if you will, clean up nitrogen-related issues, estuary-related issues as we move forward down the road. It's going to create millions of dollars of revenue for that purpose. And
Right.
we'll also be putting together, there will be a new committee that will be formed. Each town will have a representative, and they will vote on how that money will be expended. One of the big questions that I asked, and some of my other fellow councilors have asked, is the money that comes back to the city and town directly related to the percentage of money that's put into the fund? So when you look at the total of 100% in the fund, does it mean that if from the rental tax that's coming in, if 40% of that is coming from the town of Barnstable and 10% is coming from Yarmouth and 10% is coming from Dennis, do we get 40% of what that bottom line is? And it's still a question. I believe that's the direction it will be going. I hope that's the direction it will be going. But ultimately, the money will be used for all water-related mitigation issues and concerns.
Right. In dire need of monies to actually solve this problem. The town of Barnstable has been working on water quality management for several years with the 208 plan. We had a town managers and DPW this past 2 weeks ago
Yes.
at town council. So, having this fund now. I mean, really, instead of speculating what's going to happen, come to town council tonight or
Yes,
tune in, Channel
exactly.
18, and you can hear Mark Millen and Ruth really kind of break down what
Sure.
this means for those folks that rent more than 14 days, consecutive days, and how, perhaps maybe how the Island Realtors, Cape and Islands Realtors
Yes.
are going to market this.
It'll-
So there's, lots of information. That's just one
Yeah,
order.
it'll be very informative, I
Right.
think, and one that is already, I know, being met with a lot of anticipation, because I've had folks calling me today asking, what actually is going to be on the agenda for this evening, and what's this presentation all about. And, you did bring up an important point. A couple of weeks ago, we did have an absolutely fantastic presentation by Dan Santos, Director of the DPW, about all of the means by which we've been trying to improve the overall quality of water here in the town of Barnstable. And when collectively you put, all of the initiatives together, we really are ahead of the curve as a town. We have not dragged our feet in any way, shape, or form. Even looking at the 208 plan, which we're obviously under law to basically begin to implement, having served on the Water Resources Advisory Committee. I mean, that was a group that was made up of 15 community members, all of us with a level of expertise that helped contribute, if you will, to what we saw as the response to what it is that we were going to do. And as we move forward, whether it's septic systems, whether it's more sewering, whether it's using alternative kinds of products, whatever the case might be, collectively all of that is making sense. And now having a fund to help support that, it'll be obviously another tool in the bag to fight, if you will,
Right.
quality, to fight and support water quality here in Cape Cod, because without good water, we don't have Cape Cod.
Exactly. And talking about that stabilization fund, that is on old business,
Yes.
is to create that fund. And then the mitigation and some of the community agreement payments from Vineyard Wind are going to go to that fund as well?
Yes, those are, now that we've signed the contract with Vineyard Wind, and basically we'll bring that in through Cape Cod Bay and from that area. That will be monies that will be put towards that will be well spent, if you will, supporting not only that particular aspect of town projects, but probably others. I think as a town, we're moving really in a very positive direction as we go forward with new sources of revenue, whether it's the Water Stabilization Fund coming from the state, whether it's the Vineyard Wind funding. And you're right, we will be voting the creation of a new fund to be able to accept that money and then to expend it. Mark Millen will probably be available to explain that in a little bit more detail. We're trying to put our ducks in order, so to speak, to know that we do have revenue sources coming into the community to basically offset what we see as newer expenses that we would have to deal with in order to mitigate even increasing taxes down the road. So everything collectively works towards trying to make sure that we are looking out for the best interests of the citizen of the community. At least I know that that's one of my goals, and I know the majority of the other town councils support that conceptually.
And we have, it's funny where people think that just the tax dollars are the only dollars that come into the town, but there's a lot of grants out there that come into the town. They're either written by staff here, planning and development, or community preservation. There's a couple of grants on the agenda for this evening.
Right, there is a Mass Wildlife Habitat Management grant that we'll be accepting for approximately $12,000. We have a planning assistance grant from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for $50,000, which is basically to revise our zoning and our regulatory requirements for increased housing production. So that's usually an ongoing basis. If it's not the departments I just mentioned, the police department a couple of weeks ago, we accepted a number of different grants. Some of these are categorical, which basically means that they're not competitive. Others are competitive, which means that we have to write out the grant application. But we have a very, very assertive team under our town manager's leadership to always constantly be looking for what are the other resources that we can bring into the town, once again, to mitigate, if you will, the overall cost of running this multi-million-dollar business operation, because ultimately that's what the town is. We're a multi-million-dollar business.
Right. And one of the items that struck me on this was the new autistic and developmentally challenged housing in Denison, which is a community project.
Right.
And that's one of the orders under new business. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, this was a three-town community effort in order to build some new housing for autistic adults. And we, as a community, using some of our CPC funding and other sources, voted to approve $250,000 towards the building of this new facility. It's going to be able, I believe, to house 8 adults on the autism spectrum, and it's something that's sorely needed. It's only going to 8. There's probably another 800 that probably we can be serving, but it's a step in the right direction to realize that as a community, we have an obligation to make sure that we take care of those folks that, for whatever given reason, aren't able to take care of themselves all the time, all day. And so I was very excited to vote in a positive way, as were my other fellow 12 councilors a couple of weeks ago, to make sure this was happening when the CPC came before us in order to get the monies moving forward. So it'll be exciting. It'll be a good opportunity.
Excellent. Anything else you want folks to know about the meeting tonight?
All of the meetings that we have, usually when you look at the agenda, it says, oh, this will be an easy meeting tonight. It's not going to be too late. Usually not necessarily the case. They still end around 10:30 or 11 o'clock because you're never really sure what's going to come up, whether it's through public comment, whether it's through an expansion of questions, Q&A, based on some of the presentations that have been made. But no, I mean, every town council meeting is unique unto itself. One thing I will add is that this coming weekend, the councilors as a group, as a whole, will be attending the Mass Municipal Conference up in Boston. And that's always an exciting 3-day opportunity to meet with councilors and selectmen from across Cape Cod, from across the state, mayors, city councils, town councils, where we will be attending numerous workshops, learning about some of the new issues and concerns that will be coming to us from the state, coupled with also having our meeting with the Cape Cod Selectmen and Councils Association Friday night to just talk about our regional issues, our regional concerns. We do meet on a monthly basis relative to that, and it's interesting to see, as different as we are, community by community, we have so much in common in terms of common problems that we really need to resolve collectively together, especially in the area, I'll go back to where we began, which is water management.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you for the opportunity. And attend the meeting tonight.
Do you have trouble understanding your tax bill? Not sure what those acronyms stand for or where your exemption is listed? Use this handy video to make reading your tax bill easier. It's tax season, so tell me when tax bills went out.
For the actual bills, the bills went out on December 31st, and the next 2 dates for the third quarter is February 1st, and then the fourth quarter would do May 1st. Those are the actual bills.
Okay. And let me ask you, how long do people have to pay their tax bills? What's the net due, I guess, is
30 days.
30 days. So just say the payments are due within 30 days.
Correct.
What's the importance of paying your tax bill on time?
To avoid 14% interest on the unpaid balance.
Okay. And how do people pay the bill?
People can pay by check. People pay online through our online service. And people use their own online banking checks.
And we also
take cash.
at the counter if they come to the counter.
Tell people what to do if they haven't received their tax bill.
If they have not received their tax bill, to contact us. They can either come into the counter, call us, and then we can check to see if the bill was issued and where it was mailed to, and then if they have to do any change of the mailing address, we can direct them to the assessor's department to do the changes.
Okay. And how does the assessor's department department work with the tax collection department? What's that connection?
Any information that goes on the tax bill actually originates from the assessor's office, as far as they basically go through the rate setting for taxes, for the tax rate, and the assessors do the assessment value for land, building, so forth. So 99.9% of the information on your tax bill generates from the assessing office. They also are responsible for address updates. We cannot do any address updates.
So if they have questions on their tax bill, the first stop may be the assessor's department?
Not
necessarily.
no.
Yeah,
No, they should always come here
Yeah.
first, because we can basically tell by looking up their bill
Correct.
where we need to have them go. If they're questioning about an abatement exemption, we would refer them to the assessing office.
Great.
Basically, other than that, tax rates, we can figure out for them between the tax
Yeah.
rates and their assessments whether their bill is correct.
If they have a past due balances, we can take a
Yeah.
look as well, and we can even look, see if they apply for an exemption, if it has been applied or not. And if it's not, then we can send them to the assessing department, yeah.
Okay. What are your hours here?
Our hours are 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday.
Anything else you want residents to know as you're talking to them before we do the bill stuff?
We are here for help. We try to help. We've been a little bit short-staffed, and then I know that creates a backup on posting payments. I know some residents are not happy. We're trying to post, a lot of payments as fast as we can. But
Also bring up about people who use their own online banking. Everybody thinks it's electronic. It is not electronic. It is an actual check that is issued to our office. And when that check is mailed to our office, as many times as we put through the bulletins and so forth, that those checks need to be addressed to our Hyannis office, not our lockbox office in Reading, because they cannot be processed electronically. Those bills each one needs to be researched, and those checks, each one needs to be researched and matched to a bill for that amount of money. People are very quick to issue the checks. However, sometimes we have information that is not traceable to anything that we have in the tax office, and they are very time consuming. Different banks are working on methods to try and help us process these faster, but they are very time consuming. We use a lot of paper. Sometimes a lot of frustration when it's an off-Cape address on their check itself, so you can't even think, okay, we can look up that street. The research that we have to do for billing is astronomical.
to make sure we apply the payments to the correct
Correctly.
accounts, and then we don't have to do a reversal or apply to somebody else's account, but yeah.
Can they put something in the memo that would help you?
A parcel ID for real estate is, that
Yes.
parcel ID number basically will never change, where bill numbers change every year. So we try and stress to put the parcel ID number, which is on their tax bill under their property description, on that check. Because that helps us more than them writing a number, and you look up that
Yep.
bill number, research that, and it can go back 5 years.
What's at this top left-hand corner?
So in the property description, it will have the address. In the top, it will have our hours, our phone number, who to make the checks payable to, and the address to mail it to.
Okay.
If they are sending the coupon with the check, they can send it to our Reading address. Otherwise, they have to send it to our P.O. Box 40 in Hyannis so we can process the checks. Also, in the property description, it will have all the description of the property, address of the property, if it is a booking page, the land area, and the deed date.
Okay.
It will have all that information in there.
And then this is where your parcel ID is as well?
Correct. Yep. And also, if they always have a question, sometimes, this bill doesn't have it, but it will show a parcel ID sometimes on August and November bills are a little bit different, and then it will show in this box as well. The actual, that's where they're going to find the parcel ID.
Okay. All right, and then as we just come down here, there's really the same information, gives what the
Correct.
property description is and who the owners of the property are?
Yep. And then again, the parcel ID.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Correct.
Then as we look, this is the confusing part, I think, to a lot of our residents, is
Correct.
there's a lot of acronyms here
Yes.
on the tax bill. So if you could go down some of these
Sure.
acronyms, and you don't have to show it to the camera,
So-
just come down the line. So what is COMCOM?
COMCOM, so the town of Barnstable has 5 villages. COMCOM, it is for the village that located in Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills. COM at the end, it would if it was a commercial property. When you look, COM RES is residential, so that's a residence property. If it was a property located in Hyannis, it would have HY COM for commercial or HY RES for residential. And it goes for Barnstable, Cotuit, and then as I said, Centerville, Osterville, Marston's Mills is under one village. Then it goes to the CPA. It's Community Preservation Act. It's for the land, the preservation areas around the town of Barnstable, and that would charge 3% of the town taxes. And the tax COM, it is a town tax for a commercial property, or tax res, which it is the tax for the residential. On the actual bill, the bills that just sent down, we do have the land value, the building value, and exempt value. The exempt value showing is always the residential exemption. So if a lot of customers don't know, taxpayers don't know where to look for if they did or did not receive the residential exemption, and that's where they have to look. If it's exempt value, it has a dollar amount, they got granted the residential exemption. That only shows on the actual bills. The preliminary bills for August and November, we don't have. It's still based on the prior year's land value, assessed value, so that's why it does not show on the preliminary bills.
Okay, and then this box over here has basically more information of dollars here.
Correct.
So go down those columns of numbers there for me.
So it will show the bill number, but bill numbers change for every year. So that's why we always ask you when they're paying to list the parcel ID. They will have the total of the real estate taxes, special assessments, that it will show if they had a penalty for some reason they didn't fill it out, some paperwork with the assessing department. Some customers ask, taxpayer, where does it show if I have the road betterment, how much I'm paying? It actually is going to go back to this box, which says special assessments. That's where it will show about the road betterment. It will show sewer betterment, or if they didn't pay their sewer bills, we do lien to the real estate taxes, and that's where they will get all the information. And that it will show under the preliminary taxes how much it was issued, and then the credits, which how much they pay. This right here, the exemptions and abatements, that will be the veterans exemption, blind exemption, any other types of exemptions other than the residential exemption, it would show right here on this box. And then we also list if the customer has a past due, the interest amount, the fees that was attached, and then the third and fourth quarter amounts with the due dates. Going down a little bit, this is the codes for all the 5 village and the tax rates for the village. So it will have for the residential, personal property tax, commercial, and then, so this is for the town, and then the district tax rates per thousand. It will show underneath.
Okay. And those districts are really the fire districts.
Correct, which is the 5 villages that the town of Barnes has. And then this year, it was also, we printed a note, if you have a prior balance, contact tax collector's office. Mass General Law has changed, so we have to list this information. So a lot of customers are getting in concern. a lot of don't have, but we have to, on the actual bill, print this note if they have any past due balance to contact the tax collector. Okay?
Excellent. And then we hit the actual coupon piece
Correct.
of this, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk a little bit
Okay.
about what to do with that coupon.
Okay, so you're always going to look and fill the paperwork. Some people like look, oh, I only have the fourth quarter. So usually the first one to send it to us is on the bottom of the page. So the example, this one is the third quarter. So you can just detach. If you want to come in, you can come in person to pay, or you can mail us a check, or you can go online to pay. And it pretty much has the same information of the top box, how much it is due, the due date, if there was any past due, the interest. It shows the due date and the amount that is due.
Okay. There's two blank lines there
Correct.
that say, what are those blank lines for?
It is if people wanted to donate it towards the scholarship or the elderly. But this is if people would like to donate. It's voluntary. You don't,
Okay.
they don't have to if they don't.
What are those scholarships? We have
Okay.
rec scholarships. or
Yes,
something, okay.
correct. And then the elderly, if you need, if the elderly needs a help, whatever, they can call the treasury department and they can go over with the process.
So if you donate to that fund,
Correct.
and there's elders in our community that need help
Correct.
paying their taxes, you can help them.
They contact the treasury department. They have to follow the procedure, and they might be able to get help with that fund.
Okay. Anything else on this bill that you want residents to be aware of?
We wanted to be aware of the due dates, especially. 'Cause the due dates are, we bill in a fiscal year, which is a lot of confusion as well. So our fiscal years run from July 1st to June 30th of the following year, which has the first quarter due on August 1st, the second quarter due November 1st, the third quarter February 1st, and the last quarter May 1st. Those are usually the due dates, other than if the due date follows on the weekends, we're not open on the weekends, and then goes to the next business day. So that's very important. And to avoid the 14% interest charge, the bill must to be paid by the due date.
Excellent. Here's a look at things to do, places to go, and people to meet. Hands-only CPR is CPR without mouth-to-mouth breaths. It is recommended for use by people who see a teen or adult suddenly collapse in an out-of-hospital setting. This technique can be taught in less than 10 minutes and can save lives. A trip to the Cape Cod Mall on Saturday, January 19th will bring double benefits, as the Cape Cod Medical Reserve Corps will offer free hands-only CPR training from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. in the main corridor just outside Macy's. A meeting reminder, Town Council tonight, Town Hall, second floor hearing room at 7 p.m. and live on Channel 18. Comments, suggestions, accolades, connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works. For you, I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.